So we're in your culinary class, and Unit 2, Chapter 3 now has to do with nutrition. So a lot of times we went through nutrition and your health, so I'm going to kind of go through this and kind of quickly on nutrition, but it's important to know nutrition is important for our life. So it says, because good health is greatly influenced by good eating habits, it is important to develop a taste for nutritious foods and understand how these foods contribute to our health, good health. Nutrition. The definition of nutrition is the study of a proper, balanced diet to promote health. Malnutrition results from not eating enough food or not eating the correct types of food. It's a common misconception that malnutrition is related only to your income level, that the poor are only malnourished. Now we know, of course, it doesn't matter on your income. You can still be malnourished. I like this where it says, for you are bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. 1 Corinthians 6:20. So we need to eat a balanced diet or have a good nutritious diet in our habits, right? So everyone needs to practice good nutrition. And energy, it talks about energy. So energy is measured in calories, right? Excess calories are stored as fat. 3,500 calories are equal to 1 pound of body fat. So just think, 3,500 calories to 1 pound of body fat. So just to know, and you probably know how to count calories. If you look on things, they all have calories wherever you go. So, but in addition to energy, the body also needs nutrients. And the chemicals in food that help the body function are the nutrients. And the best foods to eat that are those that are filled with nutrient dense, which means they're filled with high nutritional value. So you want to eat food that has a high nutritional value. Modern processing today, these practices make food much safer and cleaner, of course, but processing also destroys a lot of the beneficial nutrients in the food. So it's important to compensate. Many foods then are either fortified or enriched. So what's fortified? Fortified means basically has had the vitamins and minerals added to it that were taken out or that were not originally present. Fortified means it has extra. Fortified means extra. So when adding vitamins to things that didn't have those vitamins. For example, like milk, which does not contain vitamin D, now is fortified with vitamin D. And then there's enriched. Enriched have nutrients and vitamins that were lost during processing, and so they need to put them back. So when you say enriched, you're putting those vitamins back that you took. For example, like thiamine and niacin and riboflavin and iron were lost when grain is milled, and so they put them back into our grains, into our breads and cereals. So just remember what fortified and enriched is. So go on to 3.1, key nutrients. So we're going to go over carbohydrates. We're going to go into carbohydrates, fats, onto proteins. So let's start with carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are the body's main source of energy. And there's two types of carbohydrates. They're the simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. Simple carbohydrates are sugars, such as fructose, glucose, sucrose, and these sugars give you a quick rush, and this will raise, I should say, induce a high blood sugar level, and then it will drop, and give you low energy. So it's quick rush. Some fruits, milk, and yogurt are considered simple carbohydrates because the body breaks them down quickly. But when you think of simple, you think of sugars a lot, right? Because these foods are nutrient dense, they are more desirable options in these milk and yogurt than less desirable simple carbohydrates. So when you're talking about carbohydrates that are more complex, right? So nutrient dense, because these foods are nutrient dense, they are more desirable options than simple carbohydrates found in sweet, sugary foods like candy, soft drinks, and jelly that provide empty calories. Calories containing no nutrients. So those kind of sugars are not so good. So here we have, as we go, not to get that quick rush of sugars. So complex carbohydrates, what are they? They're like starches. What are starches? They're compared to simple carbohydrates. They provide energy on a more prolonged basis, and sources include whole grain products, dried beans, peas, and vegetables. So complex carbohydrates are often really good source of fiber. Fiber is important. You need fiber in your digestive process. You need fiber. It's better to eat foods that are high in fiber and complex carbohydrates rather than foods that are high in simple carbohydrates. So complex carbohydrates that have high fiber are good for you. So fats. Fats are one of the body's best known energy sources, In fact, 1 gram of fat produces twice the energy of calories as 1 gram of carbohydrate or 1 gram of protein, So basically, that gram of fat is going to produce much more than carbohydrates or proteins. But if you consume too much fat, you can have a negative effect on your health, of course, because fats consumed in healthy amounts can serve many purposes, too, but they also can make you fat, right? What kind of purposes, though, are fats? So if you take fat out of your body, it may not be a good thing to do. Why? Because a lot of fats could go into your body to help cushion your body. And they also distribute vitamins. Fat-soluble vitamins are important. And they help produce hormones. And they give you a feeling of fullness. So overall fat should be, though, limited to only about 20 to 35% of your daily calories. So about 20% should be fat. So you need fat in your body, especially when dealing with vitamins and hormones and cushions and nerves. A lot of these things need fat. There are two distinct types of fat. There's saturated fat and unsaturated fat. Saturated fat is solid at room temperature. So that's saturated. That means you can take a room temperature and you'll have like butter or saturated. Saturated fats also are some foods that are high in saturated fats, I should say, are meat, poultry, butter, whole milk, and other foods. A lot of animal origin foods. Because saturated fats raise your blood cholesterol, which is also linked with heart disease, the intakes of saturated fat should be limited to less than 10% of your daily calories. 10%. So when you think of saturated fats, a lot of times saturated fats are not so good. But unsaturated fats, they are liquid at room temperature. You think of like olive oil, fats found in plants, like canola oil, olive oil, these kind of oils, avocado oil or whatever, since unsaturated fat can help produce bad cholesterol levels, it is considered to be a healthier type of fat because it reduces the bad cholesterol. LDH, or low density lipoprotein, it's called LDH, is your bad cholesterol. And so unsaturated fats are good to keep this down, is what they're saying. So sometimes unsaturated fat can be chemically altered to give it a solid form. It's not always good because they're processing it, but liquid unsaturated fats go through what's called hydrogenation. Hydrogenation process is when you're putting hydrogen through, and that way you are actually, you are changing the state of the unsaturated fat. As a result of the processing, they produce what's called trans fatty acids, and they are fully hydrogenized, and they become solids, and they're transformed into saturated fats. And foods that are partially hydrogenized become semi-solid. And so this is also not the best process as being more nutritious. Often partially hydrogenized fats are combined with fully hydrogenated foods. When consumed, trans fatty acids decrease the good cholesterol, so it's not really good for your cholesterol. Let's just say that. And they also increase the bad cholesterol. So anything with trans is really not that good for you. Let's just say that, because you're putting it through a process that it doesn't normally go through. The food doesn't. Trans fatty acids may also contribute to diabetes and cancer. Because of the danger of trans fatty acids, the FDA, the Federal Drug Administration, has prohibited manufacturers from including them in foods. However, manufacturers are permitted to claim 0 trans fats on the food labels where there's 0 or there's less than 0.5 grams per serving. So it says, rather than looking at the trans fats on the label, read the ingredients listing. And then if you see the term partially hydrogenized or hydrogenated, I call it hydrogenated, basically anything with hydrogen going through, you know that they have a small amount of trans fats in them. So most trans fats are prevalent in margarine and shortening, and in some packaged snack goods such as cookies, cakes, crackers, chips, and microwave popcorn, all have a degree of trans fats in them. So be careful of those trans fats on the label. So also another thing about trans fats is that they repeatedly use them in fried foods. So it's not good to eat a lot of fried foods. And some occur naturally in like beef, lamb, and pork, and some dairy products, but they're not really a health threat. So to lower your intake of trans fats, limit the amount of fried goods, fried foods, and processed foods in your diet. So and here's a little bit about cholesterol. So cholesterol, it's under fats because it's a fatty substance, and it's found in every single body cell in our body. And it actually helps produce hormones in our body and helps to build cells in our body. So it's present in foods of animal origin, so saturated fats. That's where you find cholesterol. And it's also produced in the body ourselves. So your body also produces cholesterol on its own. So it says, although dietary cholesterol is no longer thought to affect the body's cholesterol levels, foods with high levels of dietary cholesterol also often contain a large amount of saturated fats, which do increase the bad cholesterol and should be limited. So just cholesterol, it goes along with the high saturated fats. But cholesterol, there's good cholesterol and there's bad cholesterol. So just make sure you're looking into that when you're talking about cholesterol. So let's talk about proteins. So what's proteins? Proteins are of amino acid. They're made of amino acids. These are the building blocks that combine to make thousands of different kinds of proteins. And they're in the body for cells to grow and maintain and repair themselves. There's 20 amino acids that have been discovered. 9 cannot be produced by the human body. So they must come from the foods we eat. So we have how many again? Amino acids do we have? We have 20 amino acids, and 9 of them must come from the food. And these 9 are called essential amino acids. There's 9 amino acids that are essential in our diet. So when protein-rich food is consumed, the body breaks it down and recombines and selects amino acids to form different proteins that the body needs. We needs proteins to build our body and basically our cells. So complete proteins, we have different kinds. We have complete proteins and incomplete proteins. So complete proteins supply all the essential amino acids the body needs. So that means complete. So you're eating something, it's completely supplying you with every protein that you need. And these sources of complete proteins are usually meat, milk, cheese, eggs, and these are mainly foods that come from animals. Now, incomplete proteins contain some proteins, but not all of the 9 essential amino acids. So sources of incomplete proteins are like dry beans, grains, nuts, foods, these things that come from plants. So it's best to consume more protein from plant sources because food from these sources are lower in fat, of course, but in an incomplete, if you're a vegetarian, an incomplete protein, if you don't combine them just right, you won't get enough of the essential amino acids and you'll be unhealthy. So it's important that you know if you're not eating meat, if you're a vegetarian, you're not drinking milk and meat and everything, that you know that you need to probably take vitamins or combine your proteins, like beans and rice together will give you the essential amino acids when eating them together. So the average teenager boy needs about 52 grams of protein daily, while the average teenage girl needs approximately 46 grams of protein. So usually teenagers need more protein than adults do. So that's important, the amino acids. Water. Well, water is very important because you can only live without water for a few days. I think 3 days at the maximum. Our body needs water because water aids in digestion, elimination, cell growth, maintenance, and regulates our body temperature too. The average adult needs at least 8 ounces of water a day. 8 glasses of water a day. And so, and some of it comes from the food you eat, but it's good to know to have 8 glasses of water a day. And not just beverages, because to avoid sugar beverages like Cokes and stuff, and beverages with high concentrations of caffeine, because this can block nutrients from being absorbed from the body and can pull fluid from the body's cells and dehydrate. Actually, if you drink a lot of caffeine, it can dehydrate you instead of hydrate you and put water in. It could take water out. So it's important that you drink water. Vitamins and minerals. And these are organic substances that we need in very small amounts, but we still need them for our normal growth and our body maintenance. Because the body cannot produce all the vitamins needed for good health, vitamins must be obtained from the food. So we need vitamins from our food. And it says here, a vitamin pill is not necessarily a good substitute. It can just go through your body. So it's important that you eat a variety of foods each day. So, okay, and then vitamins can be classed into 2 different types. You can have fat-soluble vitamins. These are 4 different vitamins, A, D, E, and K. Just remember, they're fat-soluble vitamins. That means if they're fat-soluble, you can overdose on them. So if you take too much vitamin A, too much vitamin D, too much vitamin E, you can get very sick because they're fat-soluble. And these vitamins, when they're taken in, they are stored in fat cells. So they don't just go right through your body. They're stored in your cell. So the excess amounts are stored in these cells and they are available for later. So fat-soluble vitamins are important, but remember, you don't want to overdose on those. Water-soluble vitamins include vitamin C and vitamin B vitamins, right? And these vitamins, they can't be stored in your body. So basically, whatever you have in vitamin C is going to go through your body. You can keep on taking in the vitamin C. It will use what it needs, and the rest will be excreted in your urine or such. So, they're not held on and stored in our body. Vitamin C and B. So minerals are inorganic substances needed by the body to repair body parts. They're called minerals. Let's talk a little bit about the minerals, and I'm going to go through these in just a bit, but let's go back. Let's just go over these here, I guess, here. Quickly on that. Fat-soluble vitamins. Let's go over these quickly. So vitamin A helps strong bones and teeth and their immune system. Vitamin A, when you think of vitamin A, you think of good vision, right? That it helps your eyes. And where do you get vitamin A, from liver, from fish, from eggs, from cheese, from butter. There's also the beta carotene vitamin A, and that comes from dark and deep yellow vegetables and orange fruits and vegetables such as sweet potatoes. A lot of vitamin A in sweet potatoes and carrots and stuff, right? Winter squash, kale, collards, bell pepper, spinach, and romaine. All these things have vitamin A. If you have a deficiency of vitamin A, you usually results in night blindness. Can you believe that? Affects your eyes first. Vitamin D. Vitamin D works well with vitamin A together, and calcium and phosphorus, and they build strong bones. So you get vitamin D from milk, from fortified grains, fatty fish, eggs, and also you get vitamin D from the sunshine. So people that live in areas that don't go out in the sun, a lot of times they can be low in vitamin D. In fact, I was at one time when I wasn't in the sun very much, went back in the sun and my vitamin D went up. So 10 minutes of exposure 2 to 3 times a week is enough vitamin D from the sun. So, and if you have a deficiency, you'll have loss of your bone density. There's a disease called rickets, which is very rare now, but that can, where your bones soften and bend. This happens when people are severely malnourished. So, vitamin E protects vitamin A and fats in the body, and it's an antitoxin to protect the body's cells. Vitamin E also helps prevent cancer and heart disease. Where do you get vitamin E? From vegetable oils, from cereals, from wheat germ, nuts, seeds, leafy vegetables, all vitamin E. A deficiency says very rare, but it can lead to muscle pain or weaknesses or vision problems or neurological problems too. So vitamin K is necessary for blood clotting. That's very important. You can get vitamin K from yogurt, eggs, dark green leafy vegetables. A deficiency in vitamin K is very rare, but it can lead to bleeding, right? And it's very rare. Water-soluble volumes. Let's go to vitamin B1 is thiamine. And this helps the body release energy from the food, and it promotes normal appetite and helps the nervous system, thiamine. The source, you can get it from whole grains and enriched cereals, legumes, and even pork. So results of a deficiency is loss of appetite, fatigue, short-term memory loss, and irritability, a lot of neurological problems there. Then on to vitamin B2, which is riboflavin, and that helps the body release energy from food and helps the body produce red blood cells too. You get it from green leafy vegetables. So green leafy vegetables are good vegetables, dairy products, whole grains, cereals, eggs, and lean meat. So a deficiency is rare, but it can cause skin cracking around the mouth. I never knew that. Sore and swollen throat and hair loss. So you really need to get vitamin B. Now these are water soluble, means that you have to keep taking them in. They don't store in your body. Vitamin B3 is niacin and helps the body release energy from the food and helps keep the nervous system, mouth, skin, and digestive tract healthy. All these vitamin Bs are pretty much has to do with our nervous system. So you get your niacin, which is vitamin B3, from meat, whole grains, enriched breads, and cereals. There's a disease called pellagra, which affects the skin and the nervous system and the digestive tract too, and it can lead to anxiety and depression. So you need to have enough niacin in your diet. How about vitamin B6, which produces your hemoglobin in your blood, in your body metabolism and helps your nervous system. It comes from grains, beef, poultry, fish, bananas, eggs, legumes, green leafy vegetables, starches, all about vitamin B6. Deficiency is called microcytic anemia, and if you don't get enough vitamin B6, and it weakens the immune system, even causes depression. Vitamin B12 is really important. You know, it helps the body develop red blood cells and helps with the brain and heart problems, and prevents anemia, fatigue, and depression. So vitamin B12 is in animal proteins such as meat, poultry, fish, eggs, and dairy. Since vitamin B12 is not found in plants, those following a plant-based diet, if you are vegetarian, you would need to either take vitamin B pills or vitamin B shot vitamins, because if you could be deficient in vitamin B12, which would cause, loss of appetite, fatigue, neurological conditions as numbness or tingling in the hands, and that kind of stuff. So vitamin B12 is important, especially if you don't eat meat products. You need to take about that vitamin. And of course, we have the good old vitamin C, and it's an antitoxic which promotes the immune system, and it makes illness shorter lived and helps to heal our wounds and helps the body to produce red blood cells and absorb iron. It's important in developing and repairing all of the body's tissues, including blood vessels, connective tissues, cartilage tissues, gums, and is important to healthy bones and teeth. You get vitamin C from citrus fruits, strawberries, cantaloupe, green leafy vegetables, broccoli, cabbage, bell peppers, and tomatoes. Vitamin C. Vitamin C deficiency, they used to call it, when guys would go out on the ships, they wouldn't take any fruits and vegetables, and they end up getting scurvy, which is a disease that causes the gums to get spongy and bleed and cause bleeding underneath the skin. It was a vitamin C deficiency because of the poor wound healing and bruising, and also loss of teeth because of vitamin B deficiency. Let's go quickly over some of these minerals. Calcium builds strong bones and prevents tooth decay, helps blood clotting, helps muscles, is important in heart and nerves to function. Calcium is pretty important. It's the most plentiful mineral found in the body is calcium. Sometimes, when you get older, women usually have to take calcium for their bones. The source of calcium is milk and milk products and some vegetables, green leafy vegetables, and calcium-enriched foods and beverages. So the deficiency would be osteoporosis. Is a disease that causes stooped posture and bones to break. It can happen in old age when you get older and you're not taking in calcium as you should. It cannot be corrected but can be prevented as you take calcium and basically an exercise when you're growing as teens and stuff. A lot of calcium. It's important to take calcium. Iodine. It's important for thyroid function, right? Iodine and thyroid function helps control energy by aiding the body's metabolism. Iodine. You can get iodine now in iodized salt. They put iodine in our salt, right? And seafood. And if you have a deficiency, you may get a goiter or an enlarged thyroid gland, thyroid problem. On to iron. Iron, especially, as a young woman, you need a lot of iron. It carries oxygen. Basically, iron is used to oxygenate the blood from the lungs to the rest of the body. So it's in our blood cells. We need iron blood cells, and our hemoglobin needs iron. And iron can come from liver, red meat, dark vegetables, legumes, these things. If you don't have enough iron, you can get anemia, which causes you to be very tired and weak. Your hemoglobin is way down. Hematocrit, they call it. Phosphorus. Phosphorus is a mineral that works with calcium to build strong bones and teeth. And it helps our muscles and our nerves and helps us produce energy in the body. So vitamin D helps maintain the balance between phosphorus and calcium. I didn't know that. So phosphorus comes from meat, poultry, fish, legumes, nuts, seeds, and dairy. A deficiency in phosphorus can be rare, but it's usually somebody that has, that is very phosphorus, that they basically, maybe have been dieted a long time, or they haven't been eating properly at all. But it can cause a loss of appetite, fatigue, bone pain, weakness, and anxiety. So phosphorus. Potassium. Potassium works with sodium to help maintain fluid and electrolyte balance and can help muscles and nerves. Potassium is very important. So it's in our electrolytes. That's why we need to drink electrolyte fluid, right? A lot of times. You can get potassium from fruits, oranges, and bananas. Bananas have a lot of potassium in them. And vegetables, avocados do, and so do potatoes have potassium. Dairy and fish. So a potassium deficiency can be cause fatigue, muscle spasms, heart palpitations, tingling, and numbness. Potassium. Sodium. Sodium works with potassium to maintain fluid and electrolytes. Sodium, potassium working. And they balance up with muscle and nerve actions. And also, you can get your sodium from where? From salt, and from some processed goods that have a lot. We have a lot of salt in our diet usually. So if you have a low sodium, it's known as hyponatremia, which causes headache, fatigue, nausea, confusion, and muscle spasm and cramps. So especially muscle cramps, like say usually someone that gets low in sodium, potassium, their electrolytes are out of whack. Maybe they got dehydrated, or maybe they got heat stroke or heat cramps at that point. And that's why you have to drink electrolytes, especially at high temperatures, and if you're doing a lot of physical activity. So that's about it for that type of nutrition. We're going to go on next. Where do we go on next? Plans for good nutrition. So diet-related health, type guidelines for Americans in the next part. So